Australians may soon be voting in another referendum if the coalition wins the next election, with Peter Dutton considering a vote which would give politicians the ability to deport criminal dual citizens. The special vote would be needed to get around a 2022 High Court ruling which found that ministers could not strip citizenship from criminals because it was unconstitutional. For more, let's bring in opposition leader Peter Dutton live in Melbourne. Good morning to you. Do you really want to send voters to another referendum poll?
Well, Nat, I want to keep our country safe. That's the first priority, and it's the first responsibility of any Prime Minister. And at the moment, we've got people in our country who hate our country, who want to cause terrorist attacks. And my argument is that if you betray your allegiance to our country in that way, you should expect to lose your citizenship. We would never grant somebody citizenship if we knew that they were going to undertake a terrorist act. And somebody who signs the Pledge of Allegiance to our country and then breaks it in such an overt way, or is involved in child pedophilia, for argument's sake, I believe that the community standard demands that people who don't abide by our laws and don't respect fellow Australians and want to harm women and children, I just don't think that they deserve priority. We've got millions of people who want to come to our country who are good people, and we have a great migrant story in our country, but if we want to keep ourselves safe, we need to make sure that the laws reflect the community values.
And there are laws, aren't there? Dual citizens can be deported if they're sentenced to more than 3 years for a crime like terrorism. The last referendum didn't seem to go down well. It cost more than $400 million. Can't we work out some other way?
Well, that we can do as much as we can by legislation, but as they say, you can't out-legislate the Constitution. The Constitution is the rule book, and people don't change it lightly, and they need good reason to. And as you point out with the voice, it was the wrong issue for the government to put to the people. It could have been dealt with by legislation, and the Prime Minister wouldn't explain the logic, the rationale and the impact of the voice, and that's why it went down. What we're proposing here is a discussion about whether we've got adequate laws, whether the Constitution is restrictive, and ultimately what I want to do is keep our country safe and keep communities safe. And I think there are a lot of Australians at the moment who are worried about the rise of anti-Semitism and what we've seen in our country and elsewhere, which just doesn't reflect the values that we've fought for over many generations.
They might be, Mr Dutton, but the number one priority in this country, the polls say 80% of people care about, is cost of living. Can we afford hundreds of millions of dollars on another referendum?
Well, the first issue is to try and keep people safe. That's always the first responsibility. And in terms of cost of living, of course, that's our priority economically, because the government's made a number of decisions in the past two budgets which have really made it harder for Australians.
Yes, so
I don't think the threat of inflation has gone away.
Yeah,
you
do
can
we
walk,
spend money on a referendum right now, when everyone can't afford their tomato sauce?
If we believe that we want to keep people safe, if you want to keep your kids safe and we want to keep kids safe in our community, then I don't think you can put a price on that. But you can deal with community safety at the same time that you can make good economic decisions to help people deal with Labor's 30% increase in grocery prices. So that's how we would approach it.
Okay, moving on to something else. There's a new advocacy group full of members from your Liberal Party and its supporters, we're being told, who are calling on you to dump your nuclear power promise. They say it's just going to increase power bills. They say it's a major hurdle to you winning government. What do you say?
Well, I think there are a lot of people on both sides of politics who are in favour and against coal and against renewables, for renewables, in favour of nuclear, against nuclear. The decision I've taken is based on the international experience. Of the top 20 economies in the world, Australia is the only one that doesn't have or hasn't signed up to nuclear. The Labor Party in the UK has just made a declaration that they can't achieve net zero by 2050 without nuclear, which is exactly what the Biden administration had said in the United States. So I think we look at the international example and we work out what is best for our country. We're paying 3 times the cost that places that have nuclear power are for their electricity. So we're killing off industry. Manufacturing is leaving our country and just setting up in Malaysia or Tennessee or in Ontario or elsewhere. And Australians are paying the highest electricity prices at home. So our plan brings electricity costs down by 44%, and it provides stability in the market, because we're going to have blackouts and brownouts under Labor's plan, and I just don't think Australians can afford that.
Yep, no, you're right. We might get you back to just do something on energy, because some of those ones overseas have been cancelled because they're so expensive. There's one in Hinckley that's 3 times over budget. It's running late. But people are open to the idea. They just want to know the cost and the time. Can we get you back to talk about that?
Love to, Nat, love to. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter Dutton.
Thank you.
Here's Chevo.